Hello, um, I am the True King of Space, and I just wanted to share a tool I've been working on for the fightstick community to generate layouts and panel designs and stuff for your fight sticks without using more complicated tooling like Fusion or AutoCAD. Ultimately, it is designed in such a way that it's more about being able to set things precisely rather than drag and drop, but you can do either one. So let's just say that I'm gonna make a design for one of my favorite fight sticks, which is my Carnage Gasada. I'm just gonna call it CG. And then we're gonna set our panel size. So in my case, my panels are 280 millimeters wide and 155 millimeters tall. So now we have our panel. So I can middle click or scroll using my two fingers on my laptop to kind of pan the workspace around. So the first thing obviously we want to do is we want to add buttons to this, or not buttons, rather holes. So I'm going to just grab some M6 holes here. So I'm just going to place them kind of haphazardly where I want them to go. And then I'm going to go back and refine them in a moment. So set those. And I'm going to click on select. I'm going to select each hole. Now this is going to seem counterintuitive, and that's one thing I'm working on, is trying to make this more intuitive. So first I'm going to set their X and Y value, and that's relative to the panel, by the way, to 0. I'm going to set the origin, which is essentially what, like basically um, relational to the panel, kind of where they go. And this is a percentage, so it's basically between 0 and 1. In the case of this guy, it's fine where it is. So I'm going to set it to 15 millimeters in both directions, which is what my panel calls for. Then for this hole, I'm going to set its X and Y to 0 like I did the other one. But in this case, I'm going to set the origin to 0.5 so that it'll put it directly in the middle of the panel. I'm going to leave the Y origin at 0, and then I'm going to set this to 15. Actually, I'm sorry, that should be 6 on mine. All right, so then on this one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to set these both to 0. I'm going to set the origin X to 1, meaning all the way over to the right. And then I'm going to set the X to minus 15 so that it will drop it back 15 from there. And then on the Y, I will have it do 15. And then I'm going to just continue this on the other ones. So this one, I want the X origin to be 0, Y origin to be 1. So then this will be negative 15, and this will be 15. And then this one, I want its X origin to be 0.5, and its Y origin to be 1. And then I want the X value to be negative, or I'm sorry, 0. And I want the Y to be negative 15, because that should put it right in the middle. And once again, I did that wrong. I want negative 6. All right, and then last but not least, my last one. So set my X and Y back to 0, set its origin X to 1 and origin Y to 1, putting it in the lower right-hand corner. And then I'm going to back it up 15 pixels and 15 pixels. So of course you can also use this tool to, like, just drag and drop stuff and kind of see what looks good, and then you can go in here and start making things more copacetic. So in any case, once I have this, I can then save this panel type, and I already have this saved, but I'm just gonna call it CG new under panel design. So now I can, whoops, I don't know what happened there. I think I must have accidentally clicked and dragged a little bit. So anyway, I've got that back to what it should be. So note that at any time I can click on SVG mode and actually see the SVG of it and save it, because you can use that for your laser cutter. So in any case, the next thing we'll do, we can either just start working on it like this, but what I generally like to do is I like to go back to my manager here, which shows me all of my different layouts and stuff that I've saved. So I'm going to click on edit, And now we're going to add, like we can either just go and add buttons to it, or in my case, I already have some button layouts set up. So for instance, I want to put a Sega 2P right button bank, and let's say I want a JLF joystick on it. So I can just import those. So then I just click on them, and I can either just, place them however I want them. One weird thing is sometimes you have to click on the thing before you start dragging it. Like you can't just click and drag. Like I said, it's a work in progress. So this is perfectly doable and good. But if you want to get really precise, like we did earlier, you can also do that. So for instance, I can say, let's make the X and Y 0, and then let's put it on the X. Let's put it at like a quarter of the way in, and then halfway on the Y. So one thing you'll notice is it's not quite lined up right, and that's because our anchor is actually here at 0, 0. So if I change our anchor to 0.5, which will put it in the middle of that part, now it lines up. So now I'll do the same thing here. I'm going to set this to 0, this to 0. Let's set its origin at 0.25 on the X and 0.5 on the Y, and then of course change the anchor point to 0.5. Now I made a mistake. I need to make this 0.75 because that'll put it three-fourths of the way over. So obviously this isn't ideal because this is right next to the edge of the um, panel. This looks good. So what we can do is we can adjust the X a little bit. So let's just say minus 50. That's a little too far. Let's try something in the middle, minus 25. That doesn't look too bad, but let's try negative 20. Yeah, I'd say that looks good. And then we can go up here and we can save this as a new panel design. So we can just call this like CG JLF Sega 2P. And then of course, if we go back to the manager, we'll see that it has been saved as a new design here. So the other thing that we can do is we can actually create these custom components and use those as reusable assets. So I'm just going to make up a fake like button layout. We're gonna call it Door Donkey just because I don't know, it sounds like something that they would come up with. So you can either go ahead and just do what we were doing earlier and just kind of eyeball it as best as you want, and then we can go in and we can start adjusting these. So one of the cool things that we've implemented here is that we can make it so that these buttons are relative to each other, so that when I move one, it'll move the whole thing. That, and it just helps us, for example, look at like a design for a layout and essentially like copy it, which is how I made the Sega 2P Vuelix and Noir configuration. So if I click on this, I can click on relative to, and I can set it relative to this one. So now these two are like inexorably linked together. So right now, um, on the X, it's very little off. So I'm just going to have it line up perfectly on the X. And then on the Y, now we know that we always want these to be at least 30 millimeters apart, but we're just going to say 39. Whoop. So naturally, that unfortunately makes it so that it's 39 above it. And well, the Cartesian coordinates are a little weird here, so we're going to just change that to negative 39. And then we're going to do something similar with this one. We're going to say set this relative to this, and then we can adjust. So let's say I want these to be 17, maybe. No, that's too close. Let's try 25, 32, maybe. Yeah, let's go with 32. Like I have a hard time coming up with these off the top of my head, but we're gonna wing it. So let's say that I want this to be just 15 higher there. Yeah, we'll go with that. I mean, like I said, it's not a great design, but we'll go with it. So then we're gonna take this one. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna set it relative. We're gonna say that it lined up on the X, and then we'll say that this is 36. I think that's what we made this other one here. Oh, that's 39. So let's make this one 39 so that it's just kind of the same thing, and we'll just kind of base it off of the top one. All right, so then this one, we're just going to line it up let's see, I don't remember what I made the X on the other one, but we'll just say that's lined up perfectly with it on the Y. So let's see, you were 32 away, so let's do something a little bit bigger, like 36. Whoa, 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 not that much. 36. There we go. And then same thing here. Set this relative, so we'll set the X to 0 and the Y to 36. We could have also just set it relative to this one instead, but we're not going to do that, and it was actually 39. All right, so then we'll set this one relative to this one. We'll say that on the X, it's 39 like the others. And then on the Y, we'll make it, let's try 10. Whoop, okay. I accidentally hit the 7 there, sorry. All right, so then finally we'll set this one relative. And X, once again, we'll just set it equal. Oh, right, because I forgot to set relative there. So now if I change this, it'll work. And then I think we said this was 39. Yep. All right, so there, now we have our layout. So now we're going to save. We're going to save it as a custom component. And then we're going to, we'll call it what we are going to call it, Door Donkey, which is a reference to a Tosh Point sketch, by the way, if you're curious what that's supposed to be. So anyway, we save it, and now we can go back to our designer. Let's just create, well, hold on. Let me open up an existing panel. So let's throw Door Donkey on that CG new one that we created. So now I can do import, grab Door Donkey. So there, now we have our Door Donkey configuration that we can just toss on our panel. And then we'll throw a, let's see, we'll throw a hitbox left button bank on there. Whoop, I really need to fix that. There, so now let's just line those up how we want them. There, that's good enough, I think. Yeah, all right, so there, now we got our hitbox on one side and Door Donkey on the other. And then you can save that whole thing like we did earlier. So you can call it, we'll call it hitbox Door Donkey. And through our CG prefix in front of it. So then when we go back to the manager, we now see the CG Hitbox Door Donkey layout saved, and we can grab an SVG of that and throw it into our laser cutter if we want. And as you can see, I've created a bunch of other layouts, and some of them I've actually just combined everything into one, but I kind of like having the left button banks and right button banks separate. In any case, this is just, like I said, this tool is still very early. I'm still working on it. But in the future, when I add the back end to this, you'll be able to create, save, and share your different panel designs, as well as sharing your different custom layouts like these, so that other people could import them into their designs and cut panels with them. Anyway, that's all I got to show you. Thank you for watching.